Hello, this game's pretty unique. I thought I'd give it a look at it. From Metagaming, it's their microgame number 11, Sticks and Stones from 1978. It's in 10,000 BC in the Neolithic or New Stone Age. It's the end of the Stone Age when they have better, weapons, better crafting stones. Starting to think about agriculture, although I don't think this covers the agriculture part of it. Like the art, it's a small game, obviously. It's only like 7 inches by 4 inches, and of course it's in a pocket game here. Looks like it's well done. A little bit of theme on the back. Sticks and Stones is a game about warfare in the late Stone Age. Each player arms his warriors as he sees fit, with stone axes, spears, bows, or just bare hands. Train dogs, dependents, herds of domesticated animals, goods, and village raids, ritualized battles, migration, and the beginning of true warfare between more powerful villages. Special solitary scenario allows single player to command a group of hunters attempting to kill a Mastodon. Can also use fire and poison weapons. Yeah, I do like that it's got those scenarios covered quite a bit, hunting a Mastodon, migrating, or tribal battles. So we'll see how that all works out. Components, black and white rulebook, 24 pages. Game designed by David Ray, and there shows his team. Since it's a pocket game didn't come with dice, but another metagame kind of box game. We got a dice I'm using. Here's all the counters. Quite a few counters for a small game. I'd say it's around 90 or so. You have basically 2 colors for 2 different kinds of tribes, and then you have another color for different kind of common elements. Of course, these are unique types of counters. These are village indicators. And then in mix here of the different characters, there's warriors, independents. Then there's also animals. There's some tribal animals of goats and dogs, and then also mastodons. And then there's goods and fire. As far as the different warriors, their indicators are here. They show like the weapon type, whether it's armored or unarmored, the weapon range, and then down here is the attack strength, defense strength, and movement allowance. Different types then specifically are for villages. You have the unprotected village, protected, fortified village. And then these are dependents for the 2 tribes. This indicates hands and armored. Weapon range of 0, so combat. Here we have bow, unarmored. Range of 3. Hand, unarmored. Range of 0 for the other tribe as well. And then axe, armored. So it's close combat, no range. And then bow, armored with a range of 3. Then we have goats with no range and can attack, defense, movement allowance. Same for dogs. And here we have axe, unarmored, and spear, unarmored, and spear, armored. Both tribes, goods, mastodon, and fire. Then here's a map. So of course it's kind of small, folds up into 4 parts. It's a thick paper, 14 by 8 inches or so. Each hex equals 50 meters, and each turn is about a minute. It's kind of a beigeish color. I think it works okay with the colors of the markers on there, so nothing too exciting, but I think the colors work okay. And there's the directional marker, and then like a randomization marker here for directions on a hex. Obviously, there's different terrain features, which affects movement and also combat. You have clear, which has no effect on the movement. Cost is 1. Cost clear, no effect in combat or movement. Rough, which is these areas. It's a +1 movement penalty. Attack strength halved for non-range combat. Woods, indicated here. +1 movement. Attack strength halved for non-range combat and range combat into or through woods hex. Stream, which is shown here. +1 movement penalty. Attack strength halved for non-range combat. Ford, simple terrain bridge for crossing the stream. No effect on movement. No effect on combat. Swamp, indicated up here. +1 movement penalty. Defense strength doubled. All terrain movement and combat effects are cumulative with themselves, with other movement combat penalties. So going through the rules, turn sequence. Each turn consists of several phases, which must be done in order. First player's movement, first player's combat, second player's movement, second player's combat, and the scenario state which player is first player. Movement. Player may move some, none, or all of its units, equals movement allowance. A unit may move less than its movement allowance, or does not have to move at all. Friendly units. A unit may move freely through the hexes occupied by friendly units. It may, however, may not end its movement phase on the same hex as friendly units in violation of stacking. Enemy units. Unit must immediately end its movement for the turn when it enters a hex occupied by an enemy unit. Terrain effects of movement. Many types of hexes. We talked about the terrain effects. Goats. A goat unit cannot be moved unless it is escorted by a warrior, dog, or dependent unit. The escorting unit must begin and end the movement phase stacked with the goats. A single escorting unit may simultaneously escort several goat units, which are stacked together. Goats which are not escorted do not move, unless an optional rule is being used. Dogs may be moved independently of people. Captured dependents. Captured dependents require an escort. Movement of goods. Goods may be transported by warriors and dependents. The transporting unit must begin and end the movement phase stacked with a goods unit. A unit's movement allowance is decreased by 1 while it's transporting a goods unit. One warrior or dependent unit may transport 1 goods unit. Alternatively, 2 warrior or dependent units may transport a single goods unit without movement penalty. Units transporting goods attack and defend normally. Exiting the board. To leave the map board, units must expend 1 point of their movement allowance. Coasts must be escorted and goods must be transported when they leave. Units will leave the map. Units which leave the map may not return. Exception, AR and DR combat results. Stacking warriors. At the end of a movement phase, each side may have up to 3 warriors per hex. Both sides may have 3 warriors in the same hex. A warrior unit may move through a hex which already contains 3 warrior units outside, but may not end its movement there. Dog units count as 1/2 of a warrior unit for stacking purposes. Dependents, goats, and goods. Unlimited numbers of dependents, goats, and goods may be in a hex in addition to any warriors and dogs in that hex. Mastodons, up to 3 mastodons may occupy a hex in addition to any warriors or dogs in that hex. Combat, general. If warrior or dog unit is in the same hex as an enemy unit during its own combat phase, it may attack that enemy unit. Attacking is always voluntary. Briefly, each attack against an enemy unit is done by comparing the attack strength of the attacking unit with defensive strength. The unit being attacked, rolling die, and computed. This is the attacker's attack strength divided by the defender's defense strength. The ratio is rounded off in the defender's favor to one of the simplified ratios shown on the combat results table. After the odds are computed, die is rolled, the corresponding line of the proper column of CRT is consulted, and the results are applied. No unit may attack more than once per turn. Neither may a unit split its attack strength into 2 attacks. No unit may be attacked more than once per turn. And here's the combat results table. Multiple attackers and defenders. More than one unit may attack a single defender. Attack strength of all attacking units are added to produce a combined attack strength. This is then compared to the defense strength of the unit they are attacking to produce an odds ratio. Alternatively, a single unit may attack more than one defending unit. The defense strength are added, and the unit's attack strength is divided by the sum to produce the odds ratio. Also, several attackers may attack several defenders. The odds ratio is computed by dividing the combined attack strength by the combined defensive strength. Stacking effects in combat. If any warriors or dogs and hex are attacked, then all enemy warriors and dogs and hex must be attacked. If several attacking units are involved, the attacker has the option of attacking all the defending units in a single attack, using a combined defensive strength, or of making several attacks. He may have one unit soak off several defenders by attacking them at low odds so that the rest of his units get better odds. Dependence. Attacks on dependence. Dependence may not be attacked unless all warriors and dogs of their side in that hex have been attacked first. Attacking dependents is not the same as attempting to capture them. Captive dependents may be attacked by a side which captured them. Attacks by dependents. Dependents may not attack warriors except for capture counterattacks. They may attack enemy dependents, animals, or goods. Effects of warrior combat. If one or more dependents are in the same hex as a friendly warrior units which are being attacked, the odds ratio is adjusted one column to the right on the combat results table. If a captured dependent friendly to the attacking warriors is in the hex, being guarded by the defending warriors, the odds are adjusted one column to the left. Wounded dependents still provide these adjustments. These adjustments apply to the attacks involving both dogs and warriors, though not to attacks involving only dogs. Goats may be attacked only if first, all warriors and dogs, and secondly, all dependents of their side in their hex have been attacked. Goods may only be attacked if all warriors, dogs, and dependents in their hex have been attacked first. Goods are automatically destroyed if attacked. They may be destroyed by their owners if no enemies are in the hex. And mastodons later. Train effects in combat. Talked about that already. Ranged combat. General spear units may attack enemy units in adjacent hexes as well as in their own hex. Bow units may attack enemy units up to 3 hexes away. As with the same hex combat, the attack strength of the spear or bow units divided by the defense strength of the target to produce the odds ratio. Several spear and bow units may combine their attack strengths to attack a single defender. One or more spear or bow units may attack more than one defender, but only if all defenders are in the same hex. Spear and bow units may combine their attack strengths with those of friendly units in the same hex as the defender. Combat results. Bow and spear units attacking from outside the defender's hex do not suffer attacker killed or attacker wounded results from the CRT. Instead, they retreat. Ammunition limit. Spear units are limited to 3 ranged combat attacks during the game and unlimited attacks using non-ranged combat in the defender's hex. Bow units may make only 6 attacks during the game using either ranged or non-ranged combat. Once all ranged combat shots have been used, the particular spear or bow unit is replaced with a hand unit. Players must keep track of how many times each bow unit attacks and how many ranged attacks each spear unit makes. Other units. Bow and spear units may fire into, but not through hexes containing other units, whether friendly or enemy. A bow unit is considered to be firing through hex if a straight line between the center of the bows hex and the center of target goes through any part of the hex. Terrain. Bow units may only fire into or through one woods or village hex. The defense strength of that target in swamp or village hex is doubled, as with non-ranged combat. Attack strength of bow and spear units making ranged attacks from a rough woods or stream hex is not halved. However, the attack strength of bow and spear units making ranged attacks into or through a woods or protected village hex is halved. All terrain effects on combat are cumulative. Capture. Unit types. Warriors may capture dependents, goats or goods. Dependents may capture goats or goods. Other units may not be captured. Procedure. A unit must first move into the same hex as a unit or stack of units that it is attempting to capture. During the combat phase, all enemy warriors and dog units in that hex must be killed or retreat before capture may be attempted at any time during the combat phase. Capture attempts may be announced. Each uncaptured dependent against which capture attempt is made makes an automatic 1-2 attack against all enemy units in that hex. Combat results which affect the dependent are ignored. The counterattack odds are always 1-2, regardless of the enemy's defense strength and terrain. These counterattacks do not count as attacks for the 1 attack per unit per turn limit. The attacking player may choose not to attempt capture of all dependents in the hex, so that not all can counterattack. If the attacker does not suffer any combat results from the dependent counterattacks, then the capture attempt is successful. Goats and goods are now captured automatically if no one captured friendly units are in the hex. Capture attempt does not count as attack. Any unit may make an attack before or after making a capture attempt. Escorts. At least one warrior unit must escort captive dependents at all times. No escorting units may attack or other units or attempt other captures. If all escorting units are killed or forced out of the captive's hex, or if they voluntarily leave the hex without being replaced by the warrior's dependents, revert to pre-capture status. Captured units may not escape from their escorts by themselves. Movement of captured units. Captive dependents may be moved in the same manner as goats. Captured goats may be escorted normally, and captured goods may be transported normally. Once captured units leave the board, they are unrecoverable. Escorts must leave the board with their captives and may not return. Unprotected villages. Unprotected villages occupy 3 hexes. They may be placed on clear, rough woods or unclear woods or rough hexes. They do not affect movement or combat. They do not negate the terrain in hexes they occupy. Protected villages occupy 3 hexes. They may be placed only on clear hexes. The attack strength of any unit doing ranged combat into a protected village is halved. The attacking units may not enter a protected village from the outside unless it is unoccupied by enemy warriors and dogs, or B, the attacking units can get a 2-to-1 advantage over defending warriors and dogs in attack strength in that hex at the end of the movement phase. No movement penalty is suffered for entering a village hex. Non-ranged combat in protected villages is normal. Fortified villages. Fortified villages, stone or mud brick buildings and a wall occupy 4 hexes. They may be placed only in clear terrain. The defense strength of any unit in a fortified village is doubled. Units may not enter a fortified village hex from the outside unless it is unoccupied by enemy warriors and dogs. No movement penalty is suffered for entering a village hex. Then we have optional rules. Extended weapons range. Bow and spear attacks may attack beyond their normal range by reduced attack strength according to the following table, shown here. Roaming goats. A die is rolled for each goat unit, which is non-protected fortified village or stacked with a dog, dependent, or warrior at the beginning of the movement phase. If 1, 2, or 3 is rolled, the goat unit will wander. That is rolled again. And the directional arrows on the map are consulted. The goat unit moves in full movement allowance in the direction of this turn. The entire procedure is repeated next turn if the goat unit is still not escorted. Goats will leave the board due to wandering or lost to both sides. Running warriors. Warriors may increase their movement allowance by up to 3 points. At the end of the movement phase, warrior units which use this option are flipped over and are considered to have sustained a wounded combat result. This is CRT to exhaustion. The W condition lasts for 10 turns, then the unit returns to normal. If W results from combat occurred during this recovery period, the unit is killed instead. No warrior unit may use running more than once per game. Poison. If a defender wounded, combat result is achieved by a unit attacking with poison weapons. The result is treated as a kill instead. Fire. One direction. After both sides have selected forces and after each player's board end has been determined, but before either side is set up, a die is rolled. The direction indicated on the direction indicator. The spoke star in the upper left corner is varying one direction for the game. Starting with fire, at the end of the combat phase, each warrior unit which has neither move nor attack that turn may attempt to start a fire. If one is rolled on a die, a fire marker is placed in the warrior's hex. One is subtracted from this die roll. For each turn that the warriors remain stationary without attacking or being attacked. Thus, the warrior, which is not moved, been involved in combat for 2 consecutive turns, may start a fire in 1 or 2. More than one warrior may attempt to start a fire in a single hex, but fires cannot get started in swamp or stream hexes. Spreading at the end of each full turn, after the second player has completed his combat phase and is rolled for starting fires, one die is rolled for each hex with a fire marker in it, and the fire table is consulted. Fire will not spread into a swamp or stream hex. A hex which already contains fire, or a hex in which fires previously burned out, will spread into any type of village hex, and here's the effect. Fire effects, goat and dog units may enter fire hexes. Mastodons will not enter fire hex while grazing. Mastodons may enter fire hex while fleeing or charging. People may move into or through a fire hex if they wish. Any unit which enters fire hex or remains in fire hex is started movement phase receives a wounded combat results. Units which begin a movement phase in fire hex but then leave do not take damage. Woods and village hexes on fire are unusable for both movement and combat phase. Burn out hexes, when a fire goes out, the fire marker is inverted. Fires may no longer be started to spread into this hex. Burn out woods and village hexes are unusable for both movement and combat. And scenarios: small village raid, while not really warfare, raiding nearby villages to gain wives or food was an ancient and sometimes lucrative occupation. And another of the scenarios discussed is the territorial ritual battle. Most Neolithic cultures developed some sort of formalized warfare between nearly equal tribes living nearby. Instead of destructive raids or all-out slaughter, the prestige and territory of the tribe was maintained by a system of postures or brave acts of a non-lethal nature. These battles usually ended in a single killing, with the side sustaining the casualty running away. The Mastodon Hunt is a solitary scenario. Most societies in a primitive state did not maintain themselves by pillaging their neighbors. The evidence from prehistoric times suggests that warfare was not a primary activity of Stone Age man. Most prehistoric cultures spread themselves by hunting and gathering. Then migration of the horde. Following the last ice age, its village life began to spread. Clashes between migrating primitive hunting groups and more advanced stationary villagers began to evolve, and small bands would sometimes gather together for the purpose of large game hunts. Possibly they would have attempted to use this method to raid food and villages. Then talked about terrain, combat results table. These are the ratios. AK is attacker killed. All attacking units are removed. Treated as AR for spearbow units using ranged combat. AW, attacker wounded. All attacking units are turned over. These have their attack and defense strengths halved. In addition to terrain effects for the remainder of the game. Wounded units otherwise operate normally. Treated as AKF units a defense strength of 1. Treated as AR for bow or spear units using ranged combat. AR attack retreat. All attacking units are moved 1 hex in a direction predetermined by the defender in accordance with the following priorities. All unoccupied hexes of any terrain type. Hexes containing units friendly to the retreating unit, but not in violation of attacking units. C, off the board. D, fire hexes. Units which retreat off the board must return to the hex from which they retreated during the next movement phase. BW, both wounded. All attacking and defending units are wounded, as with AW above. Bow and spear units attacking by ranged combat retreat instead, though the targets and other attacking units are wounded. NE, no effect. DR, defender retreat. DW, defender wounded. DK, defender killed. So I'm going to do the first scenario, which is a small village raid. And first, general setup. Select the scenario. Then there's the people point work conversion. Scenario rules will give each side a particular number of people points and work points with which to purchase warriors. Before selecting forces, each player may secretly convert player points to war points at a rate of 2 war points per 1 people point. This represents certain members of the tribe working exclusively as toolmakers instead of becoming warriors. Some scenarios have limits on number of people points, which may be converted to war points. Selection of forces. Each player receives one warrior for each point he has. Warrior points may be expended to armor warriors, train dogs, or in play device scenarios, protect or identify, fortify villages. Players may not purchase extra dependents, goods, goats, or villages, or mastodons. Consult the unit's chart for the people point and weapon point cost for various types of units. The limits of the counter mix provided the game cannot be exceeded. No new counters may be made up. Selection of forces is done on paper simultaneously by both players. Then players next place their counters on the map as they're constructed by the scenario rules. Then the first turn begins. This is the unit cost table. So I'm doing the small village raid, which is discussed here. Small village raid, while not really warfare, raiding nearby villages to gain wives or food was an ancient and sometimes lucrative occupation. Forces, villagers get one unprotected village, which I'll put here, 3 dependents, 1 goat, 3 goods, 6 people points, and 3 weapon points. 1 people point may be converted to more weapon points. No more than 2 dog units may be purchased. Raiders, 6 people points and 4 war points. 1 people point may be converted to weapon points. No more than 2 dog units may be purchased. So for the villagers, I converted 1 of the people points to weapon point, and so I have 3 dependents, 1 goat, 3 goods, and I converted 1 of the weapon points into 2 dogs. So I have a dog here and a dog here, and that allowed me to have a total of 5 then warriors, and 3 are hand unarmored, 1 is axe unarmored, and 1 is spear unarmored. And then as far as the raiders, so I converted 1 people point to 2 weapon points. That allowed me, so then I have 5 warriors, I have 2 dogs, I have a spear armored, 3 hand unarmored, and a axe unarmored. You have to, the villager decides what side, he's going to go on the south side. Then the village is placed in 3 clear woods or rough hexes, more than 11 hexes away from board end, so I placed them up here, the village is in there. All dependents, goats, and goods are placed in the village. 1 dog unit may also be placed in the village. So I have each of the dependents, the goods, the goat, and a dog in there. All village warrior units and other defending dogs must be placed within 8 hexes of the board end and at least 6 hexes away from the village. So they're down here on some kind of hunting party, I guess, within those constraints. And then the raiders will come on the first turn. They're currently off the board, but they're up here. On the first move, the raiders move first. They enter the board and end opposite that chosen by the villagers. Not all raiding units need to enter the first turn. Game end. The game ends when A, all of one side's warriors leave the board or are killed, or B, 10 consecutive turns pass with no attacks being made by either side. Victory conditions. The side with more victory points wins. Each side gains points for each dependent, goat, or goods unit moved off its own map end. If only one side has warriors on the board at the game's end, the side receives victory points for each dependent, goat, or goods unit still on the board. Each side loses 1 point for each of its warriors, which is killed. Dependents are 2 points each. Goats are 3 points each. Goods are 1 point each. Warriors killed minus 1 point each. Dogs killed minus 0 points each. Special surprise. Villager, warriors, and dogs outside the village may not be moved until a raider unit is within 7 hexes of any villager unit. The units in the village may not be moved until a raider unit is within 2 hexes of the village, or a villager warrior enters a village hex. That'll be interesting. And I'm also going to use the optional rule of fire. I think that'll add an interesting aspect to it as well. Can into play your first turn. Villagers don't move until the raiders are within 7 hexes. And 7 hexes would bring it out to so they'll only go up to around there. Move here. This costs 1 there. Costs an extra 1 to move across the rough. But he's got 5 points, so 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to kind of keep a line. So you can go 1, 2, 3, 4. It's plus 1 across that as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. The dogs can go 8, but they're just going to kind of stick with the hunters for now. And then next turn. Okay, they got their initial position. Now they're going to start closing in a little bit. They're the first players, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the dog. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They'll come down this way to kind of flank them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Dog. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's their move. Then the villagers move. So the dog spooked the villagers because he's within 2 hexes of the village. So they're gonna head down to the warriors. 1, 2. This dependent is carrying goods, so their movement is reduced by 1. Same with this one. She's also carrying goods, so 1, 2. The dog is going to go meet that other dog because he's a very loyal Neolithic dog. 1, 2, 3. And this dependent will take goods and also escort the goat. Then these warriors will move up. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then this dog will kind of move up there too. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's their movement. So right here we have a dog-to-dog battle. Obviously 1-to-1. There's no train modifiers because they're in the clear there. Look at the combat results table. 2. AR. The attacker retreats. All attacking units are moved 1 hex in direction determined by the defender. Okay, there's an unoccupied hex there, so the villages were the attacker in that battle, so he's got to retreat there. Then we go back to the raiders movement. So the raiders are moving. They're going to go dog against dog here. They're obviously a close descendant of a gray wolf, maybe. And they're going to see if this dog can join in as well to help his friend. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we can join in there. Be 2 dogs against that dog. These guys will be moving down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's got a spear. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're going to focus on the dependents. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As far as battles, we'll do the 2 dogs against 1 dog. So the 2 dogs versus the 1 dog here. Dogs have a attack and defensive 1, so 2 dogs against 1 is a ratio of 2 to 1. Look at the combat table here. 1. AW, the attacker is wounded. Wow, that's a tough village dog. All the attacking units are turned over. They have their attack and defense strengths halved, in addition to terrain effects for the remainder of the game. So that was a successful defense by that Neolithic dog. So place these 2 wounded dogs. That one. The spear warrior here has the option of attacking dependents, but they're not going to do that. They are looking to capture them. So that's the end of that turn for the raiders. And then the villagers move and attack. The dog's wounded those, so he's going to come back and help out his villagers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this dependent is carrying goods, so they're going to move over here and then they'll be with the dog. So the dog's kind of protected on there. And this one's carrying goods as well, so they're going to keep moving 2. They normally can do 3, but now they can do 2. Same with this one, escorting the goat and also carrying goods, so 1, 2. So they're having some success in retreating there, looks like. And actually this dog's gonna come over here and help these guys out too. So he's protecting the dependents there. Then these warriors gonna come up. 1, 2, 3. He's on the spear guy. He's a axe guy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's see if the spear guy can get up there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And the battle we have going right here is 2 unarmored hand fighting warriors against an armored spear warrior. And spears can fight either adjacent hexes or in their own hex. The two hand fighting have an attack of 2, so a total of 4 for 2 of them. They're combining there. And the defense of the armored spirit is 3. So the ratio of that would be 4 to 3, or the ratio is 1.33. I'm assuming, well, you round in a defender's favor, so it'll go to a ratio of 1 to 1. Attack. 4. BW, both wounded. All attacking and defending units are wounded. So they're all flipped over and wounded. This attack, a armored axe, which a attack strength of 3, and a hand fighter 2, so a total of 5, versus hand fighter of 2, so 5 to 2, which is 2.5, and then you round that in the defender's favor, so a ratio of 2 to 1. To the combat. 2. Attacker retreats. So they were unlucky there. So it goes either any unoccupied hexes or hexes containing its friendly one. So that'd be going here. Then we still have the unarmored spear that's going against the hand. And the attack strengths and all are shown here as well. So unarmored spear has an attack strength of 4, and then the defense is 2. So it's 2 to 1, and he can only throw a few spears, so he's within 1 hex. Will do that. 5. 2 to 1. DW. Defender wounded, so we wounded him. So there's a lot going on there. And I'll just start the beginning of the next turn. And these guys are gonna just starting to move in here. So he's gonna go 1, 2, 1, 2. He's gonna move over by these guys. Set this next movement turn. If these two don't move or combat, then they can start a fire, and depending on how long they wait, we see how lucky they get. They roll, see if they get a 1. Actually, he gets a 1. So he starts a fire right there. This one's also going to try to start a fire. There's 2 fires right there now. And then the wind direction, you go by the directional roll. So the direction is going to go, and then in subsequent turns, at the end of each full turn, you roll and see if it spreads however many hexes or if it stays. So that's a little bit of play. Hopefully that gives you a sense of it. Sticks and Stones from Metagaming, one of their micro games in 1978. I like that it's unique. It shows a day in the life of Neolithic hunter-gatherers. They're starting to apparently think about growing crops, but at this point they're hunting and gathering. Like that involves dogs and fires, and there's a scenario for Mastodon hunting. It's got some very unique, good scenarios. It's a simple game, but of course it's a pocket game, so that's what you expect. But it's unique. some good strategy involved there, and I like that the technology is maybe somewhat consistent with how it was back in the day, as I say. It's kind of simple, but I'll give it a 6. Thanks a lot.